Well, thank you all for joining the meeting today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's just a little after 10 o'clock. As we normally do in our Keystroke Live, I'm going to go ahead and mute most of all the attendees here and go ahead and do the training, and then at the end of the session I'll go ahead and unmute everybody. And what we're going to be going over today, thanks again for joining us. Today we're going to go over the digital sign controller. That's an add-on to the Keystroke point-of-sale program, and it's something you can use with or without Keystroke. And we're going to go over the setup of it, how it works, some of our XML screens that we've created for the device as templates, as we call them. And we also have a lot of our resellers making their own templates, which is good. So I'll go ahead and get started here. Again, this is what we're doing here is our Keystroke Live. As we all know, it's every Wednesday. If you haven't attended yet, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we try to get as many people as we can. We can get up to 16 people to join us for the webinar. Today we're going to go over the digital sign controller. The digital sign controller is an add-on module. It allows you to display Keystroke point-of-sale information on a secondary monitor. It also can replace a customer poll display or a customer display. And you can, like I mentioned before, you can use it with or without Keystroke. You can actually just use it to promote your business and show advertisements and not link it to the Keystroke program. Using it as a customer display, you do want to link it to the Keystroke program. That's how you get the line item information to display. We're going to quickly go over, we can install from the CD. On our current CDs is the current digital sign controller, and it's on every CD from 6.3.0 forward. Version 7, and the current version has the most current digital sign controller. And as I mentioned, it's licensed $495 per store location or Keystroke serial number. So you can have one or multiple stations using the digital sign controller, and the cost is $495 is the list price. You do get your dealer margin on that. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to back this slide up. I'm going to actually just show you quickly on a CD. When you open up the CD, I'm going to go ahead and from our CD, if you click on the Install Other Software, sorry, I should have had the sound turned off. Whoa. From the Install Other Software page, you'll see at the very top, install the Keystroke Digital Sign Controller. The setup here will find where Keystroke is installed and want to install it in a subdirectory below the Keystroke program folder. For this demonstration, I've already gone through the setup and installed it to my C drive where Keystroke is installed. And for workstation installations, you do not need to take the CD to every workstation, although you can. You can just install it once on the server. And just like our Setup WS program for Keystroke, we have a DSCWS, which is the Digital Sign Controller Workstation EXE. That can be run on the workstations. And the benefit of doing that is so when you're changing content or pictures for your digital sign, you only have to do it in one location, and then all the machines can see the changes. It allows you to kind of manipulate the data or the advertising throughout the day. I'll go ahead and close this. This is basically where you would install it from. During the demonstration, I am going to probably try, because I have one monitor and this is a webinar, I'm going to try to display both the digital sign controller and the Keystroke program on the same monitor, keeping in mind that this product is really used for dual monitors where Keystroke is facing the cashier and the digital sign controller is facing the customer. So in this demonstration, I'm going to be tiling windows in an effort to show you how it looks, and hopefully I can get that taken care of. Just a couple of the points you may want to take notes on, and we'll be going through these steps shortly here, but I'll just verbally go through them. In Keystroke, if you want to link the Keystroke program to the digital sign controller, you'll be using the data port function, and you'll turn on all the export checkpoints in the data port settings, and I'll show you that shortly. If you have multiple workstations or registers, you're going to want to use the command line switch, which is ks data port file equals, followed by the actual file name. I have an example below. It shows C keystroke data trn2.kfo. That would be for transaction manager machine number 2, and the keystroke file output is what we're actually picking up. You don't really need to know all those details, but if you start working on multiple registers, or if you find out after you've installed it that it's not working, check your machine number in Keystroke by hitting Shift and F12, and check your command line to make sure you're using the same startup line. It's very easy to add a tag inside of these files to start the program on a secondary monitor using the screen number tag. And we have, I think, up to 5 or 6 different variations of the XML files that we ship with. So what I'm going to do now is, assuming we've already installed the Keystroke digital sign controller, I am going to share my entire screen here, and I'll see if we can do this here. I'm going to minimize this. Well, I guess I'll minimize this for now. Pardon me, I'm going to have to go back a step here. First of all, I'm going to open up the Keystroke program. And here we're just going to go ahead and go into Sales Manager. And we'll come back to this in a second. And again, my point here is just to try to get all the screens on the same page. I'm going to open up the digital sign controller. I have set up the digital sign controller to kind of run in the upper right of the page, and Keystroke in the lower. Now I'll go ahead and just try to share this, and I'll ask for some feedback here in a second. First of all, Nick, are you there? Can you see both the digital sign controller and Keystroke?
Yeah, I can. I got the digital sign controller on top of the Keystroke window. I can see.
Okay, good. Thanks for the help there. I'm going to get back to the demonstration. And let's go back to Keystroke. This is how we're going to set this up. First of all, when we open the digital sign controller, again, I'm bouncing around a little bit. What we're looking at here is the default screen that comes up. And the default screen allows you to, it's just one of the templates that we've created. This screen is opened up in a window. Normally this would open up as a full screen on a secondary monitor. So imagine that this screen is running on a secondary screen in full screen mode, and Keystroke would be running on the first monitor or the primary monitor for the cash register. And here's how we do the setup. It's rather simple. First thing is, I already know that I'm machine number 1, so I don't need to do too many changes for this on my shortcut for the digital sign, but I'll go through that. What we're going to first do is go into Keystroke, and under the transaction menu under parameters, we have the data port option. The data port option is where we actually communicate with other programs through Keystroke while doing sales. Here I've gone through, and I've already been testing this earlier, and I've checked these boxes prior to this. But as you normally come into this screen, these boxes all these boxes will pretty much be empty. And the goal here for the setup is to check each and every export box on this. And then the data directory here can be left blank. It'll be relative to the current data directory. I am running Keystroke from the tutor folder, and so I will be creating a file. The file name is down here. I'll be creating a file called trn. The ampersand m is the machine number. .kfo. So I will be creating a file called trn1.kfo, and I'll show you in the digital sign controller how digital sign is going to pick up on that file. So these are the settings here. I'm just going to say OK. And here we are on a blank sale. I'm going to go ahead and just start a sale. And again, these are kind of overlaid. I've done it so you can see the line items on the left come on the digital sign as I do them in Keystroke. So as I start selling items, I'll see that on the left-hand side, the digital sign controller starts showing the line items. And at the same time, advertising is happening on the digital sign controller in one of 4 panes. We have this pane here. Right now, Nick's picture is being shown. The bottom right is another logo area, which you can put content in there. The top of the screen is a banner, and we've included a clock on here. But there's some different variations, and I'll show you those shortly. Well, let's keep going. So now that we're communicating, we're actually creating a file. Every time we send out every time a checkpoint happens, like in this case, the checkpoints happen to be while I'm doing line items. Or if I wanted to add a customer to the screen, a checkpoint might be when the customer is added. So as I go through a sale, I sell different items. The total is shown on the screen. And I guess for the sake of this, I'll just go ahead and tender some payments. We hit enter here to go to the complete sales screen. I'm going to show a dual tender in this case where they're going to give me a check for $20 and then pay another $20 in cash, let's say. So here they're going to write a check number 12345 or whatever. They're not going to pay the full amount. I'm just showing you that this screen on the digital sign does handle split tenders. So there's $20, and then I'm going to select the rest in cash. Let's say I select, they gave me $15 in cash with the $20 check. Once I get to the print buttons, then the check is displayed in the lower left, the cash is displayed, and any change is also displayed. So what they're seeing is very much what I'm seeing. It's just a different graphical look. When I hit save on this, the information gets cleared off the screen for the next sale. And like I've mentioned in this example on these screens, I can put in a customer number, and it shows down at the bottom welcome and the customer's information. You could go to the level of putting customers' detailed information like their balances and stuff like that, but you may or may not want to do that in a location where people can actually look over your shoulder and see your customer's information. So that's how right there the setup is. Again, I'll just quickly go back to it. The parameters for data port. When you go in there, you're just going to turn all the checkboxes on the left and basically accept all the defaults. Sounds simple enough, but there's some more complexity to it, as you can imagine. Let's get back to the digital sign controller, because I'll show you some of the features of it and what kind of default forms we have. When I'm in the digital sign controller and I want to customize it for my client, I can do a few different things. Let's start with just right-clicking on the screen, let's say in the line item area. And these are the choices of the menu right here. I'm going to first go to the Select Settings file. This is where you can create different templates yourself or use the ones we have. When I click on this, this is what comes up. It's the Setting File Selector program. Right now what we're looking at is this digital sign controller settings. That's the default. This is kind of an example of what it looks like. There's a pictorial here, and then there's a description that's also being displayed. Let's look at something different. Here is a digital sign controller setting in white. So this look here is going to have a bigger banner at the top. It's going to show some more information and so forth. And we'll get into how you change this content. It really is very simple. That's how that one would look. Let's go ahead and pull up this 4-panel. This right here is an example where we have a video running in the middle here, pictures cycling down at the bottom here, with kind of more of a receipt style printout on the right hand side. And here's an example here, the single panel. This doesn't show any keystroke information. This won't this won't be really relating to the data port at all, even though it can be sending out information. This program is going to ignore and just play videos all day long. This is a Cheerios commercial video we can watch. Here's another example up here. This is an example where the left-hand side of the screen has been created in white. And what it does when you sell items that have pictures attached in Keystroke, the pictures will come up. Let's go ahead and select this file. I'm just going to go ahead and just highlight it, select OK at the bottom. The digital sign controller will reload. It's doing this in full screen. I'm going to kind of minimize it here to get it back to kind of where I can use it. So this is an example here where in Keystroke, if I, let's say, pull up the shirts, I know our shirts. Here's our shirts in Keystroke. Here's a picture that is actually being generated by Keystroke, so the clerk can actually see what's going on. If the item is selected, I'm going to pick a extra large khaki. Then I should see over here, I'll tell you what this is a good segue here. Right here I've loaded a default screen, but I'm using our tutor data. I might have to make a change here, so I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to select the edit settings file. This kind of is our segue into how you edit the XML. Again, using a template for the XML is the best way to start. So I click on edit settings. Here's the whole XML file, and I know because of what I've done that previously that this data directory needs to be changed to tutor. I can control with my command line switch, or I can put it in the file. I'm going to go ahead and save this file, minimize that. I'm going to now right click on the digital sign controller and select reload settings file. And that's where the disconnect happened just a second ago there, where I sold a shirt, but I didn't see its picture. I did not have that one actually set up to go. So that's how that looks. Let me go ahead and sell some more stuff with pictures. I know there's a mouse pad. So when I sell this mouse pad, getting back to the digital sign controller, now it shows me the mouse pad. So you might have some installations that you might want to show pictures of the items. Now, in many cases, people have the parts in their hands. They don't need to see a picture. But you might be selling things out of a catalog. And you might be pulling up a part number, 29DX4. And you pull that up, and is it the right part? And the customer has a chance to verify that. They may enjoy that option there. So this is a form here. I'm going to right-click again and select the Edit Settings File option. A couple of the things, I just changed the tutor directory here. I've hard-coded into this form that this is for machine number 1, and we can actually use a command line switch to override this line. I might change this right now to normal. You may not be able to see what I'm doing as well, but I just changed the state from maximize to normal. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I think I'm going to change, I've been tinkering around with these. Once you tinker around with them, you get kind of good at them. So now when I reload and select reload the settings file, then we have the screen coming up exactly kind of where I wanted it before. If I arrow through these different items, the program will be refreshed to show what items I am selling. So you might see the shirts there, the long sleeve cotton shirt. Then I arrow down, you'll be seeing the Keystroke mouse pad, for instance. And see if I find some more items in Keystroke, like a canvas bag. So there you sell that, and there's a picture of it. And I'll just finish this off by showing you, and this is a good example of where we put the total. If you want it big, it doesn't always have to be at the bottom. Say they give me $50 in cash, and then it's going to tell me the change is $237, and when I'm done, it should clear the screen and come back. Now it's ready to go for the next sale. You ask kind of, well, how do we get some of the content to change? Let me pick let's go ahead and load another file here. Let's select this 4-panel video here. And I might need to edit it with the tutor data, but let me just open it up. Hope you're not hearing that full blast like I just heard it. But anyhow, this is showing a actual video. You can of course mute it or not have any sound at all. This content here, these videos right here on the left, in the middle, they're coming from one folder, while these pictures down at the bottom, the 3 little subsections, are coming from different locations. If you want to change any of the content, you would just right-click and select View Input Folder. When I select View Input Folder, a Microsoft Browse window shows up, and it shows me the different files that are in here. So this is in an Adds To subfolder. It's actually under the Contents subfolder. And I'll go back a step. So here we have the content for the digital sign controller. We have different ads locations. We have, so for instance, ads 1 might be what we saw earlier. This content here, ads 2, there might be these videos. And if I go back to the content folder, we have an ads 3 folder. These are like the photos. So I'm going to close these again. So let's say down here, if I right-click at the bottom of the screen, I can select View the Input Folder. And it shows me that, oh, all of these pictures are coming from this folder. So what an IT person can do, or what you can do for your customers, is maybe set up a batch file to come in and delete these files or rename this Ads 3 folder and bring in new content throughout the day. So as maybe you have a lunch special at 12 noon or 11 o'clock or 11:30, you have a batch file that comes in and deletes the files out of here and reloads in some new lunch special pictures or something like that, or maybe a deli sandwiches. And then for the morning, you might have the breakfast specials. You could do that for a happy hour, for instance, things like that. So that's how the content is kind of handled. This is how you find out where it's at. You just right-click on where you'd like to find where the content is coming from and just select View Input Folder. Then you get to see where the content comes from. Looking at this, it tells me, oh, this is in this directory here. Now I know where I can set up a batch file to take care of that. Let's see, back to some other things for the digital sign controller. We talked about the shortcut, and I might have to do that in a different avenue here. But let's go ahead and change this back. Let's go through a few more things. Under the Select Settings File option here, this is where we can select which kind of content we want to use. By the way, the ones that have the word sample on them, like the sample content and sample content white, these actually are hard-coded to look in the tutor folder. So if you want to do a demonstration and just want to open up tutor data, you can pick these sample content files. This one here, the sample content and the digital sign controller settings are identical, except for the one change for the tutor folder. Sample content white and digital sign controller settings white are actually the same. And again, you can call out these XML files on a command line, or you can actually just hard code it into the XML itself. So that's a little bit about the digital sign controller and the settings. There is a button at the bottom that says Copy to Default. Once you like one and say, okay, I really like the sample content white one, I could just click on Copy to Default. It copies it over and reloads it. And of course, the default was not minimized. So I'm going to have to change. There we go. So now my default file is actually going to come up every time that way without any command line switches. And here's how we can sell different things. This actually, you can use HTML information here. So I can actually put a website in here like Keystroke POS. I can click on that right there. Now that doesn't help anybody in the real world for a digital sign because maybe the clerk might be able to click that, but that's not going to help much. So there's different content you can put here and move things around. So that's kind of how the digital sign controller works. I wanted to show you, let's see, one last thing here. I'm going to go ahead and return back to, let's see here, return back to this. So we kind of talked about the different files and so forth. I don't think I'm going to be able to show you the shortcut very well. Maybe I will be able to. Let's quickly go over the shortcut properties. This right here, we just happen to have a couple versions of Keystroke running here. So we have in a Key 700 folder, it's normally installed to the digital sign controller folder below the Keystroke folder. It runs the digital sign controller.exe. But I can tell a machine if I want this to be registered too, I can actually add to this shortcut here my KS data port file equals, and then give it a full path or a relative path. In this case, I'll do a full path. C:\\, in this case, KS700 /data /trn2.kfo. This would be a shortcut right here for machine number 2. So when you start Keystroke, you'd use an mnum equals 2 to make it machine 2. Then when this digital sign controller would start up, it would only be looking for data from my machine. This is to eliminate if you're at register 1 and all of a sudden on your machine you start seeing items that you're not buying from register 2. So if you ever have that symptom, it's just a matter of adding this KS data port file option to your startup line. That's kind of about it for the settings of the digital sign control. I threw a lot out there. There's a lot of good questions. You can install this as an evaluation copy. If you don't have a actual purchase copy of the digital sign controller, you'll get an evaluation notice that flashes it starts off rather quickly every 5 or 10 or 15 seconds, and then kind of settles itself down and kind of flashes every 30 seconds or so until they purchase the $495 option. But you can definitely demonstrate it and get it set up on multiple machines if you'd like. And today, with all the new technology and big monitors, you should be able to get some good bling out of there, some good things happening at your customer sites. I know there's some of the dealers have already got this set up. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. If you'd like to ask me questions, now would be a good time. If you something you didn't see and you expected to see, let me know. So feel free to ask me questions at this time. I'll ask you a question. Anyone here in this webinar that can talk, does anyone have this installed or has an installation with this?
Yeah, everybody hears.
And somebody asked me about the clock in Windows 64-bit. That's always a good question. Let's go back. That was a question somebody had chatted just now. Yes, there's a workaround right now. The fix will be in a future setup. It turns out, and as you can see by this option here, let me just go ahead and load another setting. Select setting. Let's go back to this one here. I think Gordon asked this question. Sorry, I gotta play my game here. This clock in the upper right, there was problems with this, and it turns out that Adobe Flash, there are two versions, a 32-bit version and a 64-bit version. It turns out that when you install from the Adobe site and you click on the 64-bit version, it does not install the 64-bit version. So our new setup that's going to be on a future CD, probably in the next week or so, will have it where our digital sign controller will actually install the 64-bit flash player if you're on a 64-bit machine. This is a Windows 7 64-bit machine, by the way. And let me see, I'm sorry, there's the digital sign controller there with the clock in the upper right that Gordon was mentioning. So this has been taken care of. There is a tricky way I put on the Yahoo site to fool the system into installing the 64-bit driver. I say driver, but it's actually, let me bounce around here. Here's the example when it's installed correctly. This Adobe Flash Player 11 ActiveX 64-bit needs to be installed. The trick I found out is to actually remove this or uninstall it. If it wasn't the 64-bit, by the way, you can't see this, I'm uninstalling it now. Oops, it won't let me uninstall when digital sign controller's running. My screen is paused right now just for a second. I've just uninstalled it. So now you can see it's no longer there. The trick to get to install until we come up with the next release is to actually find the